What's going on? It's Tuned In. Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to make a reaction video on the White House press secretary's response to a question about changing the definition of a recession. Let's get right into it.
Next week's a very big week for the economy. So I read the CEA blog. Is the White House trying to change the common definition of a recession because next Thursday the GDP numbers coming out are going to show that we've been in a recession?
Okay, so quick update on his question, quick background, I should say. The White House released this article. How do economists determine whether the economy is in a recession? Let's take a read. What is a recession? While some maintain that 2 consecutive quarters of falling real GDP constitute a recession, that is neither the official definition nor the way economists evaluate the state of the business cycle. Instead, both official determinations of recessions and economists' assessment of economic activity are based on a holistic look at that data, including the labor market, consumer and business spending, industrial production, and incomes. Based on these data, it is unlikely that the decline in GDP in the first quarter of this year, even if followed by another GDP decline in the second quarter, indicates a recession. What are they saying here? So the White House is basically saying, hey, apparently there's this weird rumor floating around that if you have 2 quarters in a row where there's a decline in GDP, it's a recession. But we actually know that that's not true. And it's neither the official definition nor the way economists evaluate the state of the business cycle. So I took the liberty of Googling define recession, and let's see what popped up. Okay, let's read it. A period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP in 2 successive quarters. Oh, so it sounds like Oxford Dictionary defines it as that, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's not the way economists evaluate it. Maybe it's not the official definition. Let's look at this Forbes article. Official recession definition. In 1974, economist Julius Scheiskin, I hope I pronounced that right, came up with a few rules of thumb to define a recession. The most popular was 2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP. This definition of a recession became a common standard over the years. Okay, so we got a pretty big economist whose rule of thumb got coined and became a common standard. But the White House is telling you that economists don't evaluate the state of the business cycle by that. Don't worry, trust us. Let's keep reading though, because they do make an important point. The National Bureau of Economic Research, NBER, is generally recognized as the authority that defines the starting and ending dates of U.S. recession. So this seems to be the official definition. NBER has its own definition of what constitutes a recession, namely a significant decline in economic activity spread across the country, lasting more than a few months, normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retails. So we go back here, and this is exactly what they're referring to over here. The National Bureau of Economic Research, the official recession scorekeeper. And that's exactly what we just read to you. So basically, what the White House is doing is, in my opinion, they're expecting another GDP decline in the second quarter. Because if they were not expecting this, they wouldn't have bothered to put out this article. So it seems like they're trying to inoculate the public. Say, hey, just so you know, that crazy rumor you heard, maybe from Googling define recession, maybe from listening to common practice by economists for the past 50 years, don't listen to that, because these guys have our back. NBER. Now, I'm not saying they have their back, but I'm saying that this definition is a lot more kind to the current potential definition of recession than the common rule of thumb, which is 2 quarters in a row. So it seems like their back is against the wall, and they're doing everything they can. They know that 2022 is an election year. They know that midterms are coming up, and they just want us to believe that everything's fine and dandy. So let's listen to her response. Let's give her a chance to speak.
Say this, the strength of our labor market, along with the other economic factors, is what we generally see in a recession, or even what is not what we generally see in a recession.
Freudian slip.
Or even a pre-recession, because we're seeing the strength of the in the labor market. So that's really important to note there, because those are key elements as we talk about that, as folks keep asking us about that. So Americans across the country are back to work at a historic level. 21 states, the most in history, have unemployment rates at or below 3%. That is an important number to note. 14 states are now at their lowest unemployment rates since this series began in 1976. And last month, the unemployment rate was a new low in 8 states. So again, the strength of our labor market, along with the economic indicators, is not what we generally see as we talk about recession or even pre-recession.
The job.
So it's so funny, because if we look over here in this article, they're basically saying, look at these indicators. Don't look at GDP decline. Look at labor market, consumer and business spending, industrial production, and incomes. But she's only mentioning labor market. And the statistics she's throwing out about unemployment rate going down are literally because the government forced people out of jobs due to a certain virus that I won't name, and gradually let people take those jobs back. So this isn't some great accomplishment. I mean, I'm happy that it happened, but it's a cheap card to pull, because it's like, we forced you to not be allowed to do this, and then we gave you permission to get back to it, and now we're taking credit in growth, even though the reason it declined in the first place was because of the rules and obviously other circumstances, health circumstances. But regardless, it's not an honest assessment of economic health, and the person asking this question knows that, so he responds. I'll let him talk.
The 3-month trend, the growth of job growth in the U.S. is shrinking, it's decreasing, and 7.5 million people, a growing number, are multi-jobs, meaning they have to work more than one job to afford a living. So is jobs really a good indicator?
Look.
So he's asking if jobs are a proper indicator in determining the health of the economy, because that's all they have right now. I'm saying it's cheap. I think he believes it's cheap. Let's see what she says.
Here's what I would say. We've always talked about the strength of our economy. We've always talked about how historic it's been, and we've always talked about the trend more stable and steady growth. And so to your point about the job growth there, this is what we have been kind of stating for the past several months. Look, the economy created 1.1 million jobs in the second quarter. And around 375 jobs per month. Those are historic numbers. Those are, if you think about the 1.1 million jobs, we are back to where we were at pre-pandemic levels. So that is what we see as strength of the economy. Again, we're going to transition stable and steady growth, and so we're going to continue the work set out to do to make sure that we do deliver for the American.
Okay. So she didn't answer the question. The question was, is it correct and honest to look at jobs as a true indicator of the health of our economy? And her response was, well, our jobs have been amazing. The unemployment has been amazing. We created all these jobs. So this all seems to be just a ploy to try and somehow gaslight the public to believe that even if we get a 2 GDP declines in a row, that we still have a healthy economy because of all the jobs we created. You decide for yourself. That's it for today. Have a good one.